Hello, YouTube and Wooper Club fans. It's Fruit Taco here, coach of the Route 1 Burbs, bringing you another feature match from WCL Season 13. This is Week 5, starting the second half of the regular season, as we start seeing what teams are going to be making runs at the playoff spots. We have the Cincinnati Incineroar going up against the Music City Mudkips this week. The Incineroar are currently 2-2, so they'd love to start racking up some more wins to make that playoff contention a real possibility for them, while the Mudkips are looking for their first win of the season. Not too late to make it to the playoffs, but they're going to start needing to pull off some nice wins here to start making that a possibility for them. Well, who's going to get the win? Let's start looking at the match and find out. The Incineroar are Lug Trio, Iron Treads Who Can't Terra, Salamence Who Can't Terra, Mimikyu, Primeape, Moltres, Rillaboom Who Can't Terra, Quillfish Hisui, Wigglytuff, Dondozo Who Can't Terra, and Quagsire. They're going up against the Mudkips with Alolan Raichu, Landorus Incarnate Who Cannot Terra and is limited to the Sand Force ability, Staraptor, Leafeon, Hisuian Samurott, who cannot Terra, Heatran, who cannot Terra, Hoopa, who can't Terra, Decidueye, Tropius, and Dragalge. Looking at these two teams stacking up against each other, well, the Incineroar definitely have the advantage in speed. They've got the first and third fastest mons in the matchup with that Lug Trio and Iron Treads, as well as having a better representation in that kind of high-middle speed tier, those kind of 90s, looking at that Mimikyu, Primeape, and Moltres compared to just the Leafeon in that spot for the Mudkips. They also, coincidentally, have the slowest mons in the matchup with Dondozo and Quagsire, so not even Trick Room could necessarily put the Mudkips moving first here. As far as what looks good in terms of just the matchup and typings, well, Salamence and Mimikyu look insane offensively for the Incineroar. The Mudkips have weaknesses to Dark, Flying, Ghost, Ice, and Rock, with Fairy and Dragon only having one resist each. Something like a Swords Dance Mimikyu or a Choiced or a Dragon Dance Salamence could absolutely tear through that team if they get set up correctly. Quillfish looks like it would make a nice defensive partner along with the Quagsire or Dondozo to eat up the grass-type attacks aimed at those Pokemon. And then Iron Treads actually has a lot of utility here. It's got some nice defensive resists, of course being an electric immunity for the Raichu, a flying resist for the Staraptor, dragon and poison resist for the Dragalge, and then also being able to hit things like a Terra Fairy, being able to hit the Dragalge super effectively, the Heatran super effectively, the Raichu could carry something like Body Press for the Hisuian Samurott. I think that mon has a lot of utility in this match. So I think the Incineroar, a lot of good mons. Going over to the Mudkips, the Incineroar have a weakness to flying, with Fairy and Ice being somewhat spammable, and, well, the Mudkips don't have the most ability to take advantage of that. Staraptor, I think, is going to be very key in this matchup. With only the Iron Treads resisting Brave Bird, something like a Scarf Staraptor is going to be huge. Being able to just spam those Brave Birds, and as well as being able to perhaps get a close combat prediction on the Iron Treads for huge damage and wear that down. I think perhaps a Alolan Raichu could actually be a bit of a sleeper pick this week. It's got a lot of speed, and Nasty Plot could kind of go off with coverage like Grass Knot and maybe a Terra Blast option. And honestly, you could probably even skip the Electric Stab in this matchup, just going for more coverage options, especially with Terra Blast. Dragalge can do big damage, but it's probably going to need to predict or Terra unless Treads is gone, because that thing is going to wall it pretty decently unless you start hitting those Focus Blasts or start going for some sort of super effective Terra move. Overall, I think the Incineroar are definitely going to have the edge in this matchup. I think they've just got a more straightforward, clear advantage here over the Mudkips. The Mudkips, I think, certainly have the tools to be able to pull off a win, but I think they're going to be needing to be a bit more prediction-heavy, a little bit more strategic, maybe a little bit more kind of tech-heavy, trying to catch the Incineroar off guard. Whereas I think the Incineroar are going to be able to have a very simple and clear game plan going into the match that I think gives them the edge overall. But We'll have to see what each coach actually decided to bring. So let's head into those teams. And we'll start off taking a look at the Incineroar's 6 Mons, starting it off with Iron Treads. An offensive EV spread here with max attack and a lot of speed to outspeed a Landorus with that jolly nature, as well as modest Raichu. Lefties gives us a little extra longevity, Rapid Spin and Rocks are for nice hazard utility, then Earthquake and Ice Spin are actually great offensive moves here together. They hit 8 out of 10 Pokemon on the other team super effectively, which is crazy. The only question I have about this set is the item. I mean, lefties is, I think, fine. You're going to be a good defensive switch into things like Staraptor, Dragalge, and Raichu, so the little extra recovery is certainly nice. But, I have to think whether maybe heavy-duty boots or an expert belt with those insane 2 moves hitting 8 out of 10 super effective Mons over lefties, maybe even something like a Salt Vest. I don't think it's a bad item, the lefties here at all. It's just a question of, is there a better option? Maybe. Moving on to another powerhouse of the team in the Salamence, max attack and speed with an adamant nature will outspeed Samurott and tie, of course, adamant Staraptor. We've got Dragon Dance with Dragon Claw, Dual Wing Beat, and Earthquake to do huge spammable damage, especially after a Moxie boost. Expert Belt is going to boost damage further on the 6 Mons that it hits super effectively. And, well, this is a really strong set. Only a couple things to point out. Adamant over Jolly is understandable for power, but you're going to be outsped by Jolly Staraptor, who with a Scarf is KOing you after rocks. Sure, it's at best a speed tie, but still, we'll see if that decision comes back to bite him. Expert Belt here, I definitely think is unnecessary, though. EQ already easily KOs Raichu and Heatran, while doing 80% plus to Dragalge, and Wingbeat only hits the three grasses super effectively, who I really only expect 1, maybe 2 to be coming. At +1, the Expert Belt really isn't needed at all, and at neutral, still gives you some value, but not a ton. I definitely could have seen going something like heavy-duty boots, resist berry, or even a sharp beak to just spam the dual wing beat even easier. I also think Dragon Claw is an interesting move choice. Sure, it's only resisted by 1 Mon, it's 100% accurate stab unlike dual wing beat, and it'll hit Dragalge harder, but I don't know, something like Iron Head to hit a Terra Fairy option, Substitute to try and get an extra Dragon Dance, or Protect to scout for choice moves and Terras, I think would all be equally strong options there. Again, Dragon Claw, not bad, but not sure if it's the exact move I'd have ended up with if I was making the set. Next up is Mimikyu, rocking max attack, max speed Jolly with an expert belt. It's going to outspeed the Leafeon on the other side. Swords Dance plus Shadow Sneak and Play Rough Stabs plus Drain Punch coverage is pretty dang great. Terra Grass is strange, I'd say. It doesn't let it resist a usual weakness that Mimikyu has. It resists grass, ground, and water, which are decently common on the other side, I guess. But I definitely think that this thing is not going to be the Terra candidate for this match. So I don't think it's really going to matter that much. I definitely think it's just natural typing, and the moveset it has can put in plenty of work. The Expert Belt might be a little niche, but powering up the Shadow Sneak, I think, into Raichu and Decidueye is very nice since you don't have the stronger Ghost Stab, and it enables that guaranteed OHKO after rocks on Heatran at +2 with Drain Punch. I think that's actually a very reasonable case to be aiming for, so I think it's a bit better here than it was on the Salamence. Finally, getting some bulk on the team, we have Quagsire running max HP, mixed bulk leaning Spadef heavy with lefties, and Unaware are going to be a pretty good walling set here. Terra Poison is fantastic on this Pokemon as it's going to resist those incoming grass moves while still resisting poison moves. Toxic and Recover are of course staples on a wall, as is EQ for the stab here and super effective hits. And then the last move, Avalanche here, brilliant tech. It hits Lando, Staraptor, and the grass types for big damage after getting hit. We're talking like 2/3 plus on those Mons. I love this set so much. I really have nothing to say here. The exact spread on the bulk, I don't know exactly what he's calcing for, but pretty solid. Love it here. Next is Moltres. We've got Timid with a lot of speed to outspeed Samurott, with the rest of the EV split between HP and special attack. Heavy Duty Boots is going to let it switch in easier with its normal 4 times weakness to rocks. Flamethrower, U-Turn, and Roost are pretty standard, with Terra Ground, Terra Blast to absolutely smack Heatran and Dragalge, 2 of the 3 fire resists on the other side, while adding another electric immunity. This is a great set here. Again, not exactly sure how he settled on that split between special attack and HP, but the theory and the set are super good here. I love outspeeding that Samurott, being able to get off decently strong U-turns into that Mon. I think this set is going to be great. And last, we have Hisuian Quillfish. Max HP near max special defense with a little bit of speed investment and Intimidate to help on the physical side. It's not hitting any key numbers speed-wise on the other team, so I'm wondering if this might actually be just enough speed to creep something trying to creep an uninvested Moltres and catch that off guard. Eviolite, of course, will boost its bulk, with Terra Grass letting it resist the ground-type attacks that might be aimed at it. Spikes and T-Spikes are for nice hazard setting. Barb Barrage and Crunch are your stab options here. Another solid set overall, but I do have a couple notes on this one too. The investment covers Quillfish's worst special defense, but having no dedicated physical defense wall and relying on that Intimidate to help sponge some of those hits could spell trouble if the Staraptor, Samurott, or even Decidueye get rolling late in the match. Still agree with the overall spread, just a kind of unfortunate limitation of all the different mons he decided to bring. The thing that seems iffier to me is Toxic Spikes. With an Absorber, a Steel type, and 3 Flying types on the other side, I'm probably clicking regular Spikes every time rather than Toxic Spikes. Some other options include Taunt, Toxic, Destiny Bond, Haze, Aqua Jet, Liquidation, Terra Blast, Pin Missile for that Samurott Self-Destruct. I don't think any of those are way better than the Toxic Spikes, but personally, I probably would have ended with something else myself. Overall, though, I think that this team looks great, and I think everything here looks like it could be super effective in the match. Switching over to the Mudkips team now, going to take a look at their mons, starting with Staraptor. We've got max speed and attack Jolly with that choice scarf. Of course, reckless boosting Brave Birds that are nearly unresisted is going to be great. You've got U-turn for momentum, and then Terra-fighting boosted close combat to really hit Iron Treads, the only flying resist on the other side. Whirlwind is interesting, could be just a slip of the mind here, forgetting about the negative priority, but actually, I think it's potentially useful to phase out something like Curse Dondozo, who would think that it can just keep cursing up. As bad as Scarfed Whirlwind sounds, really the only other thing to put there would be, like, Endeavor, so I don't think it's a big opportunity cost at all. Terra Fighting gets the near guaranteed OHKO on offensive treads, but I think Terra Flying, just to make those spammable Brave Birds hit even harder, probably would have been my call. But on the whole, really, the Scarf, the Brave Bird, U-turn, and close combat is all you need for this mon to put in tons of work. Next up is Alolan Raichu. Max special attack, max speed, timid with heavy duty boots is interesting. We've got Thunderbolt and Volt Switch for stab, Thunder Wave for nice utility and speed control, and then Terra Ice, Terra Blast. I definitely have some critiques about this Raichu set. Outside of Terra, nothing to hit the ground types, and unless you are that Terra Blast being resisted by the Iron Treads still, definitely would have looked for some other coverage options. Focus Blast for Treads or Grass Knot to cover both of the water types, as well as doing good damage to Treads. Probably would have been a call somewhere along the lines for me. Nuzzle, also the better call over Thunder Wave. An easy move to forget about, but it does give you that 100% accurate paralysis as opposed to the 90% Thunder Wave, while also being able to do stuff like break Focus Sashes at the same time. maybe set something like Volt Switch, Grass Knot, Terra Ground, Terra Blast, and then Dazzling Gleam with an Expert Belt. I definitely could have seen. A lot of ways you could have gone with the set, but this one definitely I think is going to have some trouble in the matchup until that Iron Treads is taken down. And now we move on to another interesting set in the Landorus. We've got an interesting kind of spread here. Max HP, max special attack, mild nature to boost that special attack while decreasing defense with a Choice Scarf. This outspeeds everything but Jolly Wugtrio. So it is getting enough speed with that Scarf even without the investment. You then have Earth Power Stab, U-turn pivoting, Focus Blast, and then Stone Edge for coverage. A couple of critiques here. The bulk is interesting, but I'd probably have gone max speed to outspeed a +1 Mence with that Scarf. And then, what is Focus Blast for exactly on this set? Earth Power or Stone Edge are basically always better in the matchup. Grass Knot or Sludge Bomb, I think, would have been a nice coverage move to have slotted in that spot instead. But honestly, this Mon could still it's just a strong Mon. It can always put in some work. So we'll see if that bulky Scarf set ends up paying off. Next up is Heatran, max HP, max special attack, modest with lefties and flash fire, getting a bit more standard here. Magma Storm, Power Gem, Steel Beam, and Protect. Not at all that weird of a set here. Only interesting thing is that Steel Beam over Flash Cannon or something like Earth Power or even potentially Power Herb Solar Beam. So there are only 2 steel weaknesses on the other team, and the water types that resist your fire moves are also going to resist the steel move. It's certainly a powerful option, but I'm not sure how useful it's going to be in a lot of situations over a different move in that slot. Not bad, but this set is definitely going to be outsped by a lot of threats, so we're going to have to see how long he's able to keep it alive to see if it puts in that work. Another Pokemon here with max HP, we've got a bulky Decidueye. Max HP, max attack, adamant with heavy-duty boots. Leaf Blade, and Shadow Sneak for stab. Defog, of course, to get rid of hazards. And then you've got Terra Dark boosted Sucker Punch. I gotta say, I like this set a lot. Should do really well into the waters, although with no recovery like Roost, it could get worn down and could need to crit through something like a setup Dondozo. I think, that Sucker Punch you do get, it is stronger than a Shadow Sneak, especially if you boost it with that Terra. But like I said, something for longevity like the Roost, perhaps something like Swords Dance even, to perhaps clean late game, I think I would have liked in that slot. But overall, just a fine set, and, I'd like to see that Sucker Punch put in work potentially. And last up is the Hisuian Samurott. Max attack, max speed, jolly nature with a choice band and sharpness, absolutely boosting those moves to insane levels of damage. We've got Ceaseless Edge, Aqua Cutter, and Sacred Sword boosted by that ability. And then rounding out the set, we've got that Sucker Punch priority. Absolutely love this set. Sharpness plus band is insane damage. Going for the Sucker Punch over the more reliable Aqua Jet, I understand, and to stuff like the Salamence, which would resist the Aqua Jet. I think this set is fantastic, and really we're going to see just the insane damage that Choice Band plus Sharpness is able to dish out, I think. While this team certainly has what I would think some more suboptimal sets than the other team, I definitely think they have the tools they need. That Samurott and that Staraptor, I think, are going to need to put in a fair amount of work. But if they do, I think this team could definitely take a win just through sheer power of the Mons that they have. Will they be able to do that, though? Well, let's watch the actual match and find out. Go with the battle. Looking here at the team preview, man, Mence absolutely goes in at +1. Tread's also hitting everything except that Samurott for super effective damage. Should be real good. For the Mudkips, though, that Staraptor is going to be real good. Could potentially be immune to some ghost moves from the Mimikyu, as well as, once that Treads is gone, just Brave Birds all over the place all day, every day. Samurott also looking quite good once that Quillfish gets weakened. I probably expect a hazard lead from the Incineroar, either the Quillfish or maybe the Iron Treads, and then probably either of the Scarves could come out from the Mudkips for just a nice pivot option. We're going to see Treads is going to lead out into Samurott. Of course, that uh, Treads doesn't have anything for this Samurott, so we're going to see the Quillfish come out, get the Intimidate, but the power of Banded Sharpness after that Intimidate, still doing 40% to bulky Eviolite Quillfish, is insane. We're going to see another high roll on the Aqua Cutter, bringing it down as the T-Spikes come out from the Quillfish. Kind of interesting going for the T-Spikes over the normal spikes, which could, of course, break sashes on stuff like the Heatran, who, of course, is immune to the toxic spikes. Not, terrible, but it's one less Pokemon affected by them. I think it's just an interesting choice going for the toxic spikes first. Turn 3, we're going to see actually switching into Staraptor as the Quillfish stayed in to just get sacked there. It's going to get a free second layer of spikes there. Again, probably I would have liked going for the regular spikes to break sashes on switch in. You've already got the poison to counteract things like lefties. I'm not sure the second layer would be as beneficial per se, but we see that the Samurott switches out into the Staraptor. It seems like an interesting, a strange play, not going for the KO that you obviously had there. But imagine if you do, you go for the Aqua Cutter there, KO the Quillfish, and then you're still intimidated, and that's just free Dragon Dances for that Salamence. I could definitely see perhaps trying to switch out, get that KO with a bit more of an advantageous Pokemon here, like this Staraptor. But U-turn, actually, that Quillfish is just out of range, so Decidueye is going to have to come in. We see the boots revealed on it as that Barbarage comes out. Does just under a quarter. Now Shadow Sneak gonna come out and claim the first KO of the match, but here is that Salamence I just managed, and boy, it looks like it is in a pretty good spot to dance. We're going to see Sucker Punch come out from the Decidueye as that Dragon Dance goes up for that Salamence, who's getting very scary very fast. Sure, I kind of understand, you could be expecting the dual wing beat, or, just like a choice item on the Salamence, maybe a choice band or something, choice scarf U-turn, lots of things. Oh no, Salamence doesn't get U-turn. Roaring Moon does. But anyway, you get the little bit stronger there, the base 80 power of Sucker Punch compared to the effective base 60 of the Stab Shadow Sneak. But you're really looking for Chip here, so you're going for, I think just the reliable Shadow Sneak would have been more valuable, if not just outright switching to something out. But now we've got this +1 Mence, and what are we going to do about it? Well, something has to take a hit, and it's the Staraptor getting actually a little bit lucky here. Dodging, it was a 68.8% roll to Oko, and we live on a sliver here. Interesting, I probably would have just sacked the Raichu. Doesn't look like it's going to be doing much of anything in this match. And that would have given you a free switch to a full health Staraptor. But of course, Moxie KOs and all that stuff, I can certainly understand that, you might end up kind of being in a similar situation. Anyway, the interesting thing I think is no second Dragon Dance, which is what I would have expected. You didn't see a Terra from the Decidueye to threaten you that way. You didn't see a Will-O-Wisp come out. You saw the Sucker Punch. Seems like a pretty free second Dragon Dance to me, and with two of those, you're most importantly the second speed boost means you're outspeeding any Scarfers, and then that could just be game if you hit all of your dual wing beats and such. So interesting going just for the Dragon Claw there, trying to just rack up and get the Moxie boost and start powering through things that way. But we'll see how that ends up paying out for him. Brave Bird come out. We are Scarfed Jolly to the Adamant. So we're going to see the Dragon Claw come out, fail into that fainted Staraptor, doing huge damage even with a low roll there. Certainly understand not going for the second dance this turn. You don't want to risk it being Scarf Adamant or a boosting item like a band and threatening the just Oko on you. So you definitely want to get that out there as soon as possible. But now it destroys back in, threatening to revenge with the Shadow Sneak. Moltres, of course, coming out to eat it instead. Probably could have predicted that and switched into, I don't know, maybe the Raichu or the Samurott. But certainly that meant was a threat and not, risking over predicting there. Certainly understand just going for the Shadow Sneak. Heatran's going to come in now, get the Flash Fire boost from the Flamethrower, and turn 11. Who needs Scorching Sands? Who cares if it was removed? We've got Terra Ground, Terra Blast, outspeeding, easily getting the Oko there. And wow, that is unfortunate for the Mudkips, losing Heatran before it does literally anything. But that does let in the Samurott for looking at the other side. This is kind of the freest banded Aqua Cutter of Samurott's life. The speed investment on the Moltres paying off though and doing good damage with a near max roll on the U-turn there. Sacking Salamence here, it was threatened by at least one priority option, so now we see Salamence get sacked, and then the Iron Treads comes out to revenge with the Earthquake on the Samurott, but it's going to switch to the Landorus. Perhaps could have predicted that, gone for like a Rapid Spin to then outspeed the Landorus with Ice Spinner, but certainly over-predicting there and just getting smacked by another Banded Aqua Cutter into your Iron Treads would have been terrible. So certainly understand just going for the EQ there. But now you're staying in, thinking you will outspeed naturally with that Ice Spinner for the Oko, and nope, that is Scarf Oko with the Earth Power. So the Mudkips, pulling it back here, now have the advantage in Pokemon. As well as getting a lot of the key threats out of the way on the other side. Can they carry that momentum through the rest of the match here? Of course, got this Quagsire out here now, as the Moltres Terra Ground cannot just dodge the Earth Power by virtue of the being a flying type. As we know that this thing outsped. We know it's Scarfed, but gotta have something taking Earth Power, and it's gonna be this Quagsire. Earth Power comes out, does a little over a third, and then the Avalanche Tech, amazing, gets the Oko there, about a 75% chance to get that roll for the Oko there onto the bulky Landorus. Probably could have expected an Ice move or Toxic and switched to either like the Raichu to get the chip or straight into the Samurott, but Samurott is at, I believe, 55% right now. Yep. And you don't want to take too much more damage on it because it's going to be useful for breaking through some of these last mons. So I do kind of understand just staying in there. Of course, with that Terra on the Moltres, Leaf Blade also unresisted. Something's got to take it, and it's just that Quagsire has time to go. We now have 3 Pokemon to 2 favor of the Mudkips, as the Ghost types here are staring each other down. Terra Dark comes out, expecting the Ghost type move from the Mimikyu. Shadow Sneak busting the disguise as the Swords Dance comes up. That is rough for the Mudkips. Of course, now the Mimikyu, seeing the Terra Dark, not going to try to go for a super effective Ghost move next turn. And we're going to see Shadow Sneak brings it very low, but Drain Punch going to KO now that it's Terra Dark and heal up almost all of that. Samurott out now. The Mimikyu has to play a careful game here. Of course, Sucker Punch here is a roll to KO, but if they expect you to try to out-prioritize that or switch and go for the, just for an Aqua Cutter, that's bad news too. So what do we go for? No Sucker Punch, go for the Drain Punch, back up to full on the Mimikyu, and now Raichu Alola is out, goes down to the Shadow Sneak, and that is the game in favor of the Incineroar. surprisingly close game there at the end. I think looking back, that Decidueye Terra, if he had waited one more turn before tearing, that could have changed things. Shadow Sneak, of course, breaking the disguise on the Swords Dance there. You then Terra next turn to take 21% max from the Shadow Sneak next turn, while you're bringing Mimikyu very low with your own. Mimikyu then forced to Shadow Sneak before it dies to your own Shadow Sneak, and Decidueye isn't yet in range of KO from Moltres if it had switched in. So you go down to 35% or so before taking down Mimikyu, then go down to the Moltres, and then Samurot's going to force the Moltres to go. It's about a 55% chance to a KO with the Terra Blast. Alternatively, of course, Moltres could switch in after this Decidueye Terra to save the Mimikyu. But then Mimikyu is going to need to hit a roll to KO the Raichu, and of course, guess right with the Sucker Punch 50-50 again on the Samurott. There's a lot of ways that game could have ended, and really well played by the Mudkips for what I think was a tough matchup for them, and especially losing some big players, that Staraptor going down early on to effectively neuter the Ments, and that Heatran going down without being able to do anything real rough for the Mudkips. But they really had a chance there at the end. Just a couple different moves really could have forced things into some real tough decisions that could have made things go either way at the end there. Really well played by the Mudkips, and well played by the Incineroar as well. They pulled out the W, and they just played well and had, I guess, an excellent prep for this match. I think that's what really brought them the win here today. Just good, solid prep and team building. Well, that will be it for me this week. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff. And, well, I'll see you next week for another feature match. Thanks for watching.